It's Thursday, June 4th, 2026. Waiting on California, Trump announces his pick for permanent new attorney general, and more insight and reflection on what happened in Iowa. Next on the AM Update. Still waiting on results from some notable races out of California. Steve Hilton, the Republican there, still leads the jungle primary. He's going to lose in the general election, but still a pretty good showing for him. He is leading the overall field in that jungle primary with 27.8%, but still only around 50%, a little bit over 50% last I checked, actually reporting. He's leading the pack there in the jungle primary. Also in the LA mayoral's race, that would be Spencer Pratt, the upstart. He is still faring pretty well with over 60% reporting. He trails Karen Bass, the incumbent, 30.4% to Bass's 34.8%. Total results from the state of California expected by around June 31st. Here is Spencer Pratt on primary night in Los Angeles.
Obviously, God wanted 5 more months of me exposing all the failures of our mayor, so it's going to be a fun ride. I hope she's ready.
Are you ready?
I mean, I was born for this, clearly.
Spencer Pratt, I think there are some lessons. I think any candidate who wants to run for elected office, especially notable offices like that, I think there are lessons that can be learned from Spencer Pratt's campaign. He played offense all of the time. Early on, he produced some viral content. He understood that the way to really cut through the noise is to produce compelling viral content. And he did that over and over and over again. Playing offense, he was a good candidate. He had a great message at the beginning. The mayor burned my house down. I'm running to fix that. That's a pretty simple, pretty relatable message, at least for those in the Pacific Palisades. And also this, once he got people's attention, even at the national level, but once he got people's attention in Los Angeles, you'll notice that's when he kind of pivoted his messaging strategy. He got serious. He produced those one of my criticisms of Spencer Pratt early on was that he was long on promises, short on details. Well, he changed that in the lead up to the primary. He put out multiple policy explainer videos, got serious about the issues. I think there's some lessons for that. Even if he doesn't make it to November, it looks like maybe he will. But even if he doesn't, I think that campaign that he ran was a really good campaign. It just so happens that it was run in Los Angeles. Also, out of Iowa, we'll get more into what Zach Lahn's victory in the Iowa GOP gubernatorial primary means later on in Air Analysis. There is one person that should be thanking their lucky stars that he won instead of Randy Feenstra, the congressman that Trump endorsed, who is just not a good candidate, as I explained earlier this week. Randy Feenstra was probably going to make the Republican Party lose a lot in November. Now at least we have a candidate that the base of the Republican Party is excited about. The base of the Republican Party, conservative, Maha, and evangelical voters. So there's one person that should be thanking their lucky stars. Randy Feenstra is not the nominee in Iowa. That would be Ashley Hinson. She is a state representative. We're now running for U.S. Senate to replace Joni Ernst's seat. And Joni Ernst, apart from having a wonderful campaign ad when she first ran for Senate several years ago, she has not been that great of a senator for Iowa, much like much of our congressional delegation. So she had her run as senator. Now, Ashley Hinson, very much the same vein of a candidate, very much kind of the same profile in belief system. She is running against Josh Turek. Josh Turek has he's the Democrat. He won that Senate race handily over there on the Democrat side. He has just an incredibly inspiring story. He had birth complications. He's been bound to a wheelchair pretty much his entire life. Went and competed multiple times for the U.S. at the Paralympic Games in basketball. His campaign messaging has been wonderful. Just a story of overcoming personal adversity, not taking any ifs, ands, or buts. It just so happens, despite that really inspiring personal story, he believes everything that the worst left-wing, most radical Democrats believe. He was one of the ones who voted in favor. Well, as you'll hear in just a little bit, he's one of the ones who voted in favor of meatball surgery and chemical castration for children in the name of gender. I mean, that's the type of Democrat he is. Despite the wonderful campaign that he ran, the patriotic campaign that he ran, that's who he is. And he's trying to run the Abigail Spanberger playbook, lying about what he actually believes. Ashley Hinson, the Republican nominee for U.S. Senate in the state of Iowa, though, I think she understands the assignment, breaking through this facade that certain Democrats, including Josh Turek, the Democrat nominee for Senate, breaking through that facade of who they actually are. This is her very first campaign attack ad on Josh Turek. Listen to the first 5 seconds.
Don't be fooled by Josh Turek. He supports kids changing gender without parental consent, amnesty, even a 90% tax rate. Josh Turek, just as liberal as the rest of them.
So, not wasting any time. I was worried about Ashley Hinson, how she would favor or fare with Josh Turek. Obviously has very high favorables in Iowa. How do you actually cut through kind of the facade that the Democrats and the campaign itself has built for Josh Turek? Well, that'll do. In the first 5 seconds of your first campaign attack ad, you're actually hitting him on the tranny issue. The most radical of positions, yes, children can get surgery and chemical castration in the name of gender. So, one notable thing, again, from my backyard, we'll talk more about that if you'll indulge me later on, because I think it's fascinating what happened in Iowa, my backyard, earlier this week. President Trump on Truth Social presenting Vice President J.D. Vance with a seal of approval and other Republicans for the job they're doing hunting down fraud in various states, saying billions of dollars being found, and they are just getting started. President Trump gave an interview to Miranda Devine at the New York Post this week, and he revealed who his pick for permanent Attorney General is.
Todd's doing a very good job at DOJ.
Will he be Attorney General, or have you decided?
I think he will, yeah.
You haven't got someone else in mind?
No.
Not Ron DeSantis?
I wanted to see how he's received. You know, we put him as acting, and he's done a very good job.
So there's President Trump saying that the acting Attorney General filling in for Pam Bondi, he wants him to be permanent. That would be acting Attorney General Todd Blanche. And I can't really blame him, because when you see all of the activity that the Department of Justice under the acting AG has actually gotten up to, it's hard to argue with that. When we come back, we go to the House of Representatives, where Secretary of State Marco Rubio was dragged in front of a panel. Also, more insights in what just happened in Iowa this week. More perspective on that. That's coming up next. A day after Secretary of State Marco Rubio testified in front of a Senate panel, he testified in front of the House Foreign Relations Committee and had this to say to Congressman Tim McBride.
That the UK had suffered more.
More per capita.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay. And I assume you're aware that Greenland is indeed part of Denmark.
For now.
Okay.
Marco Rubio, asked by the dude pretending to be a woman, Congressman Tim McBride, "You are aware Greenland is a part of Denmark." For now, our Secretary of State says. He also had this to say the other day in front of the Senate as well. Senator Rosen tried to get him in a gotcha moment regarding where he was when the negotiations were going on with J.D. Vance and the Middle Eastern envoy in Pakistan about a month and a half, 2 months ago. Listen to this.
You were at a party with President Trump in Miami instead of accompanying Vice President Vance to Pakistan for negotiations.
What party was I at? I was at a party?
It's publicly reported, and there's photos there.
But what party? No, but you're going to say that. I'm going to answer it. I'm going to answer that question, because that's an absurd statement. I was not at a party.
Finish my paragraph, he can answer.
People are going to slander me. I'm going to answer
Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, both of whom were never confirmed by this body to be America's diplomats, accompanied the vice president in the negotiations. Even Iran's foreign minister was not there, yet was there, and you were not. I just feel that's embarrassing for us, and it's embarrassing for you. So, Mr. Secretary, Congress represents the American people. We have the power to confirm who represents America abroad. We confirmed you to be our Secretary of State. We confirmed you to be in the negotiations that are happening. And it's just unthinkable to me that you are missing high-stakes negotiations, or that you're not involved. It's sad.
Senator Rosen, your time's up.
Yield back.
So let me
Secretary Rubio.
You're 100% inaccurate and 100% wrong. Here's why. Number one, the Vice President of the United States was there, and he wasn't confirmed by us, and he was elected by the American people. Okay? He is the second in line to the presidency of the United States. He was present. Mr. Witkoff is the president's envoy for negotiation for peace deals. Mr. Kushner is a private citizen that serves as an advisor on these functions. They were the team that we sent to Pakistan. I was not at a party. Where I was is next to the president, because in the midst of those negotiations, I was in communications with them. And in fact, I think there is media reporting from that evening on how on multiple occasions I went into a back room, I came back out and spoke to the president and was constantly updating him. On that evening, I spoke to Mr. Kushner and our negotiating team and Mr. Witkoff on at least 6 occasions, including twice on a secure line from the phone they had access to over there. So you don't know what you're talking about. You're just...
Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Again, there are moments when it's like this is not even great propaganda for their side. You know the question that you should be asking the Secretary of State? Here is what we said the goals were on day one. We were told it would be a 5-week operation, 4, 5, 6-week operation. Here we are 3.5 months later. What are the goals, sir? And just keep asking him that question over and over again. That's how you would get a rise out of him. That's how you would back him into a corner. But no, we had to go with the stupid talking point of, you were at a party while Vice President J.D. Vance was in Marcus. The reason, as I understand, that Vice President J.D. Vance went to those negotiations and not somebody like Secretary of State Marco Rubio is because Iran, their honor culture, that's kind of Islamic culture. Iran demanded the highest ranking possible U.S. official to negotiate with. Well, you're not going to send President Trump to Pakistan. I don't think anyway. So you'll get the vice president, the number 2 guy. That's the reason J.D. Vance went. That's the reason why Secretary of State Marco Rubio had to be beside the president at all time, because he also is the Secretary of State. So whether or not there's a party at Mar-a-Lago, whether or not they're hanging out at the White House, whether or not they're at a campaign event in Missouri or Arkansas or Tennessee, Marco Rubio probably would have been right in the president's ear. But no, they had to go with the stupid gotcha, as Marco Rubio said there. Yeah, I know you need to make this little cute TikTok video, but you're out of your depth. All right, indulge me one more time this week on the AM update, going back to my home state of Iowa, where Zach Lahn, somebody I had never heard of about 5 or 6 months ago, he won the Iowa GOP gubernatorial primary over Trump-endorsed Randy Feenstra. I'm very happy with this result. It wasn't the guy that I was supporting most of the way through the primary process, but he is a guy that I'm not unhappy with at all. In fact, I went through the very first debate, and he was there. He debated. Randy Feenstra was not there. Recurring theme in this primary campaign from Feenstra. But I remember coming home from that debate and telling my wife, Bella, hey, there's this guy, Zach Lahn. I've never heard of him before. Really impressed with this guy. Really impressed. And I just followed him from there on out. Not really sure how he got interviews with Tucker Carlson and Sean Ryan, but that kind of elevated his profile a little bit. And he had a lot of money to spend, and he did a good job spending that money, I think, effectively. And you can see in the odds markets and some of the polls, it was spent effectively. I want to put into perspective for you just how big of a deal somebody like Zach Lahn winning in Iowa is based on what he ran on. What I'm about to play for you is a clip from his victory speech the other night. This is a big part of his message. It was a big part of his message during the first debate. It's been a big part of his message during the campaign trail. Remember, as you listen to this, Iowa. What is this stereotype that you think of when you think of Iowa? No, it's not heaven, it's Iowa. And what do we see emerging from the field of what? Corn? We see all of those players. Of course, that very well-known movie that I have never seen, Field of Dreams. Yes, I've never seen Field of Dreams before. What is Iowa's stereotype? We're a rural agricultural state. I want to play you these comments from Zach Lahn the other night. This is what he ran on and won on in Iowa.
It's the fastest growing cancer rate in the world. Yes. We all know something is terribly wrong. But too many politicians from Washington, D.C. to Des Moines have had their heads stuck in the sand while Big Ag and Big Pharma printed money. This will not go on when I'm governor. Iowans are going to funerals for people dying at 60 whose parents lived to be 80. We are losing the wisdom of a generation. We have to use every resource we have to solve this. We have to find out what Big Ag and Big Pharma knew about the safety of their products and when they knew it. And we need to direct our great state universities to use every resource at their disposal to fight this cancer epidemic and end it. This should have happened long ago. You all know this. But it didn't happen because politicians, by the way, politicians like Rob Sand, have looked the other way as corporate interests have pillaged our state. And why? Why have they looked the other way? Because you can't fight corruption if you're beholden to the people causing it. You can't stand up to special interests when they own your campaign. You can't put Iowa first when you're putting lobbyists first. I know many people have stood before you on election night making promises because that's what politicians do. I'm not a politician.
Zach Lahn, the Republican nominee for governor of Iowa, some of his comments during his victory speech in that message is in part what sent him to the nomination. That message resonated with Iowa Republican voters. There are a number of rural counties that Zach Lahn won in, a number of rural counties in Randy Feenstra's congressional district that Zach Lahn won. So here is Zach Lahn's job ahead of him. In Iowa, Republicans have a very large, especially for a state our side, a very large voter registration advantage. You can tell already Zach Lahn excites the base. I think he motivated a huge portion of that base to turn out. 215,000 turnout the other night. Republicans actually beat Democrats by a fairly wide margin in this primary turnout. It was a bigger turnout for Republicans than I even anticipated. You can tell that he's motivating and animating the base. So his job before him will be continuing to raise his name ID. I think it's already clear he's tapped into a message that really resonates with the Iowa conservative base, and couple that with the built-in advantage that Republicans have in voter registration. He's got those tailwinds going with him. Here's the thing, though. His opponent, Rob Sand, our state auditor at the moment, the Democrat nominee for governor, he's been running, as I said earlier this week, the Abigail Spanberger playbook. What's going to be really interesting is how Zach Lahn takes on not only the craziness of the zaniness of the Democrat Party, but how he's going to take on the attacks from traditional Republican donor strongholds. Big Ag. I remember coming home from that first debate where I heard from Zach Lahn and kind of his message, and it was very much what a lot of what you heard there, and then some, and it was all very good. I was very impressed with him. But I remember thinking, this guy is either stupid or really ballsy to be saying the things that he's saying about Big Ag and Big Pharma for that matter, but especially Big Ag in Iowa. In Iowa, the stereotypical, and it's true, ag state. He's either stupid or ballsy to be saying that. Well, we found out he's pretty ballsy. And so how is he going to fare with that message? Taking on not only the zaniness and attacking the Democrats' zaniness, but also fending from attacks from traditional, right, at least Republican donor bases here. How's that going to work? That's going to be interesting. But here's the dirty little secret, too. Everything that you just heard there, everything that you just heard That sounds like almost like an Iowa version of a Bernie Sanders-style populist message, except it's coming from a very conservative premise. Instead of an eat the rich premise, it's coming from, this is our land. This is our heritage. We care about each other. We're Iowans. We have to figure out what's killing us. And if it's big ag, then they need to be held accountable. Not because we hate corporations, but because we love each other. The dirty little secret is that if he continues on in this message, by the way, also very much, let's say, skeptical of data centers, which are a big issue even here in Iowa, that is kind of has some crossover appeal, very much a bipartisan appeal, the data center issue. The dirty little secret is that I think Zach Lahn actually possesses the capability with his platform and his messaging of dividing Democrats in Iowa. Don't tell anybody. That's going to do it for a Thursday. Tomorrow's Ask or Tell Me Anything. Make your submissions at Real AM Update on X. Ask me any question you want. Tell me any news story, even from your neck of the woods, that you think needs to be covered on the AM Update. Have a wonderful Thursday. Back at it again tomorrow. I'm Aaron McIntyre, and this is the AM Update.